Introduction to Dietary Supplements. What is an ergogenic aid? Well, an ergogenic aid is simply something that gives an athlete the ability to increase their ability to do work. So ergo, that prefix means work, genic, to generate. So it's a substance that's going to enhance performance. Can you think of any examples? There are several different types of ergogenic aids, and these are the main categories that ergogenic aids do fall into. They can be physiological, they can be biomechanical, psychological, pharmacological, and nutritional. This particular table, which you should take a look at in greater detail, provides you with a description of each of these categories and some examples. Of course, in this course, we are going to go through a number of dietary supplements that can function as ergogenic aids, primarily of the categories of nutritional, physiological, and pharmacological. So what are dietary supplements? Dietary supplements are defined by the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act of 1994. It defines these items not as food, but as supplements to the diet. So in other words, you wouldn't be able to simply buy a whole bunch of supplements and sustain the human body off of these supplements. So it's not considered food. It just supplements the diet. And it has to contain one or more of the following. It has to contain a vitamin, a mineral, herb, or other botanical, an amino acid, a dietary supplement, substance to supplement the diet, or a concentrate or combination of the above. So it's defined by this law. So ergogenic aids would fall under the category of dietary supplements. Dietary supplements do have to have this supplements fact panel that you see here that's all regulated by the Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA for short. However, the FDA loosely regulates the supplement industry, so they don't need approval. That is, manufacturers of these supplements don't need approval before they go and market these items. However, it must be labeled a dietary supplement, contain the supplements fact panel, and it's supposed to list all the ingredients, but we know that from research that doesn't always happen. So these supplements on the labeling can include health, nutrient content, structure, function claims on the label, but again, they're not closely monitored by the FDA until usually something happens, an adverse event in someone, and there are several complaints of that, and then the FDA kind of looks more closely at it. But typically these claims go unchecked by the Food and Drug Administration. So it's really left up to the consumer to decide whether or not the supplement is something that they want to consume. So as far as marketing is concerned, that's overseen by the Federal Trade Commission. And they can include product endorsements from athletes, movie stars. They include testimonials from people who've used the substances. Sometimes they're paid testimonials. There's claimed scientific research backing, but most of the time these studies are not published, or you can't have access to them, or they've been done in a foreign country, which is why it's so important that in this class we lay the foundation for understanding how to critique the available literature and really analyze the literature for how a study was conducted so that we can get a better understanding of whether or not that supplement is going to help our athlete increase their performance. Sometimes there are false or untested structure function claims, which again, anecdotal information is something that we want to be careful of and rely more so on our literature, scientific literature, to really back up the claims that some of these supplements seem to tout. So whether or not supplements are safe is a very difficult answer to question. For the most part, for the most part, supplements can be safe when used in the recommended dosages. However, there have been instances where some people have had some adverse consequences of the supplement that they've been on. So how do you know as a consumer whether or not the supplement is going to be safe? Well, one of the companies that is out on the market that will put their stamp of approval on a manufacturer's supplement is called the United States Pharmacopoeia. And this is an independent company that's been around since the 19th century, that when a manufacturer has a product, they have a supplement that they want the USP's seal of approval on, they will voluntarily submit their supplement to the USP, and the USP will analyze it for the contents and whether or not it's safe, and if there are any contaminants in the substance. So this is something that manufacturers can voluntarily decide to provide to the USP, and then the USP decides whether or not they get the USP label. So that's something that consumers can look out for, is for this USP seal, because then you know that the supplement has a higher likelihood of being safe and the contents of the bottle are exactly what it says on the labels. Another thing that a consumer can do to ensure that these supplements are safe is to make sure that you just buy from well-known companies and not some unheard of company. That increases the likelihood of a better product. So what is doping? A lot of athletes do doping, and this basically is just a means of artificially increasing performance and giving an unfair advantage to the athlete. And so it's the practice of enhancing performance using foreign substances or artificial means. It is a problem in sport. The Olympic Committee has banned doping. There are actually some oversight committees, the World Anti-Doping Agency and the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency, that really takes a look at athletes and tries to screen athletes for any kind of doping so that there isn't an unfair advantage in competition. If you think about this, athletes, particularly at the elite level, are looking for that edge. Sometimes we're talking about shaving milliseconds off of your time, and athletes are pressured into performing well. And so it is tempting to do or use doping as a means of trying to enhance your performance. So we need to be careful of this in sport so that everyone has an equal opportunity to perform their best. There are cases, and there are some recent cases that I'm sure you can think of, where some folks have inadvertently doped. So they've been on a medication that perhaps was on a banned, or put recently on a banned list, and so that would be considered a form of doping because the substance perhaps may be banned by the oversight committees. And so that does happen, and it really points to, looking at the athlete, making sure that they're understanding the medications that they're on and how that may affect their ability to participate in professional competitive events. So one of the websites that you can go to and direct athletes to go to is the Office of Dietary Supplements. I've listed that here on this slide, and they do a nice job of summarizing a lot of the supplements that are out there as far as the efficacy goes, that is, whether or not the substance works, and if there are scientific backing for it. So it's a really nice website to go and check out, as well as looking at the safety of some of these supplements. So what kinds of doping agents are out there? Well, they fall into these categories here. We're going to cover a lot of the substances within these categories over the course of this course. They fall in the category anabolics, prohormones and hormone releasers, fat reducers, anticatabolics, vitamins, and minerals. So let's just take a look at these briefly here individually. So anabolics are basically substances that promote building muscle tissue. So it's all about preserving muscle mass and making muscle mass increase so that we can increase our strength and muscular endurance, which would then hopefully translate into sport. Some examples, of course, well-known: testosterone injections, we're taking them orally; anabolic androgenic hormones, taking those as well. Growth hormone is another popular one. So these would all fall under the category of anabolics. Prohormones and hormone releasers are interesting because, especially with prohormones, these are substances that are precursors to the actual full-blown hormone. So, for example, testosterone has some prohormones that, like androstenedione, that supposedly get converted into testosterone so that you get the full effect of testosterone. So prohormones are precursors to the actual hormones. Hormone releasers are substances that cause a particular hormone to be released, like ornithine and arginine and clonidine here at the bottom. Fat reducers, obviously, are substances that help individuals reduce the amount of adiposity that they have. So you're trying to utilize fat stores, mobilize fat, and use fat for energy to reduce fat weight and to improve body composition. So there are lots of examples of these: caffeine, L-carnitine, chitosan, ephedrine, all of which we'll cover in this course. Anti-catabolics are substances that try to prevent the breakdown of especially things like protein within the human body. So you're trying to preserve muscle mass. How can I do that? Can I take substances to minimize the amount of amino acid oxidation? Sure, there's a whole bunch of substances out there that fall under this category, and we'll take a look at them. Then there are vitamins and minerals, and sometimes these are used for enhancing performance, but as you'll see, and we'll talk about in this course, there are a number of these vitamins and minerals that are being utilized as antioxidants to prevent the damage that's associated with increased physical activity to tissues down at the cellular level. So there are a whole slew of examples of these as well.